Three. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the History Made Awesome podcast. It is episode 11. Right now, it is December 1st, so we're back in December. It's about 8:35 at night, and we're gonna get after this. And we have Ben back on. Ben, how are you doing?
I am doing well.
How was school? Are you getting close to finals week? The first time here in quarter system. How is that shaping up to be?
Yeah, it's happening.
You're doing 16, right? 16 units.
Oh yeah, or well, technically a little bit more, but yeah, 16 of worth of fine.
Yeah, I think you're gonna have a very busy week. Hopefully, you're not going to New York and doing an essay on the subway and then stressing out that hopefully the internet works and your phone doesn't die and all that good stuff. As long as you don't go through that, everything should be
No, I don't have a essay as a final.
okay. Okay. Yeah, for myself, I have a paper due on Friday, which is kind of like my final. Um, but it's kind of like my final, but it's not really because my actual final is on on actually Tuesday, which is like the 12th, I think.
hmm
Um, no, Wednesday actually, because it's basically an oral exam.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so for history, which would be interesting to see how it goes. So he gives like three questions, and we have to kind of say what it is, and they'll kind of like revolve around the like what the things that we've been talking about. And supposedly this is a lot easier. So we'll see. Hopefully those go well. And then then I have a actual paper due on Tuesday for anthropology. And then I have one more class that too. I think that's a Monday or a Sunday. I'm not sure. I don't know.
I doubt it's on a Sunday.
I have to look back on it. It's a little bit weird. But I hope it's not that bad because we've been doing like a lot of preparatory assignments for like a lot of these things. So it's kind of like finishing touches all the time. So hopefully I can get it drafted in today after this podcast if we're done with this. Oh yeah, one key note for the viewers, if you guys are on YouTube watching this, you guys will see that I won't have like the screenshot they usually have on most of the podcasts because the computer that I actually used to edit has malfunctioned a tad. So
Yeah, just a tad.
yeah, it's just totally just shit the bed. So I'm gonna have to deal with that soon. So probably not gonna get a lot of videos, if vlogs or anything like that. So hopefully I get that fixed soon. But we will be coming back. It will be glorious. I will still be uploading this podcast. And also be uploading the gameplays. I actually probably be uploading a little more gameplays since I can't edit. Probably more EU4, so I'll try to get on that because we have a lot of episodes that we've recorded and need to put back on. But kind of going back to it,
Yeah.
to what we've been talking about. But yeah, school's going well for me. Research is kind of a pain in the ass right now because one of the part of my research is also looking at third person, like not third person, but like contemporaries during the time of the Spanish Peninsular War, when Napoleon invaded Spain, is looking at how other people, so how the British viewed the Spanish liberals who were fighting against Napoleon, and how did the French and Napoleon view the Afrasitos who were supporting his government in France,
hmm
and if they actually like through their actions, because my idea is that they have no reason to lie, they're just gonna say he's a dick or he's actually a cool guy. Um, like are they actually inhabiting the roles that they say that they are doing? So if they're actually saying they're doing this for something, through their actions are they actually doing that? So that's been a pain in the butt because it's almost like a research upon a research because I have to then go and look at like essentially for the British I have to look at like the diplomatic like structure and how they interacted within Spain. Like who was the ambassador there and who were his secretaries who were a lot more closer to the ground, and then who was like the foreign secretary for like the British at the time, so like the top diplomat in England, kind of like the Secretary of State. So I've had to do a lot of that research. So I found like the ambassador now I had to look for the secretary, and when I find those guys, I have to look for their correspondence and their papers. So it's a bit of a pain, but it came off to a good start, and I was gonna show it on the vlog that was gonna come up, but I couldn't get it because the computer's messed up right now. Um, but yeah, it's been a pain, but hopefully I get through it. The biggest thing, funny enough, is not actually doing the research, which can be kind of hard, especially what I'm doing with those British diplomats and things like that, because you really have to dig deep in the information. But actually just waiting for the sources to come in. Because
Mm.
when you go, I don't know, you probably don't do this because you're a science major, but
Not at
uh,
all.
yeah. So, but for us, for like social sciences or histories or things like that,
And history.
we have books at the library, and it's our library is actually has pretty decent information.
Mm.
Funny enough, like I'll touch back on that a little bit, but we have to I have to usually order books from other libraries through interlibrary loans, and sometimes they come quick. It's just it's random.
Mhm.
You might have a book that's like coming from like Spain and they get here like 2 days in 2 days, and you have like a book here like in California and it takes like 2 weeks to get here. So
Dang.
it's kind of stupid in a sense, but that's the way it kind of rolls. Um, but that's been the hardest part, just waiting, and it's kind of been like pushed me back a bit. But I just kind of go back and just kind
Mm.
of just do the things I need to do in the research. But one of the coolest thing I found was one of the Spanish liberals I'm looking at. Supposedly, I basically what I do is I find secondary sources to find primary sources through looking through the notes and
Mhm.
the work citations or whatever, and text citations. And I was looking through one work from one of these Spanish liberals, and the author that what he cited for his information was a bunch of letters in a book, and I
Mhm.
looked through that. I looked, I basically looked to see who owned it, and luckily enough, we owned those. Our library actually owned those letters, that
Mm.
book. So it was actually awesome. Like there's like it's almost not every letter, but it's like every significant letter that he wrote. And there's like I got the volume that's like the first years of the war, but it goes on until he dies in 1810. So there's like 4 other volumes. So I'll probably be getting those books.
Cool.
But yeah, I have a lot of books right now. I pretty much like put a stack, and it probably reaches up to I'm like 5'6", so it probably reaches up to my maybe above my knee, almost not saying to my hip, but kind of close to it. That's probably how many books I have.
Thigh. It's about mid thigh.
It's about mid thigh, so it's a pretty good stack. But I guess we can get into the news right now since we kind of going on what we're doing with ourselves. And since I was just talking about diplomats, I guess we can just kind of touch on what's going on in our current U.S. diplomatic system. So recently this week, Secretary Tillerson, who is our Secretary of State, there were a lot of rumors going around
For
that
now.
yes, for now, um, there were a lot of rumors spilling around that he was probably going to get axed, not literally, but figuratively. Well,
Well.
kind of. We'll see. But no, he was supposedly going to get fired, get replaced, and this was coming in from unconfirmed, not unconfirmed, like what do you call them, like
Unanimous.
yeah, unanimous sources within the White House itself. And then it came out
Mhm.
today that he was not going to get the boot. Um,
Well, came out in that they keep denying it. I mean, they've been denying it for since the first time it got announced.
yeah, but I think the biggest thing that it kind of shows is the fact that, like, I mean, we've kind of seen it before that Tillerson and Trump on a public level, they don't actually like they don't see eye to eye on a lot of things.
Mhm.
And I think there's just a bunch of examples. I mean, the North Korean one is like the best example, I think. When he was saying that
Yeah.
he was actually talking to Chinese and North Korean diplomats,
Mhm.
and Trump publicly said that basically don't waste your energy. There's no point in talking to them, and we're probably gonna fight. But
Yeah.
that's just been like that's just been like one example of that. And I bet you was hit on a number of issues, but I think also within the diplomatic service itself within the United States,
Mhm.
there's been a lot of reports how a lot of people within secretary, not secretaries, but like in the what's it called, the basically a lot of people are losing, lot of top diplomats are losing their jobs.
Uh-huh.
We're losing a lot of good, people who work there, especially who actually a lot of them were hired under Obama, I think.
Mhm.
And so the reason why, according to Tillerson, the reason why a lot of people within the department are saying that the reason why they're doing this is because they want a new, you know, state. What's it called? I'm trying to think. What's the department called again?
The
State
executive?
Department. Yeah, State Department. There
Oh,
you go. Yeah,
okay.
State
I
Department.
wasn't sure what you were going for.
Yeah, State Department. A lot of people are
Okay.
saying that they want a more mobile, more like less baggaged State Department, and
Yeah.
also they want to like bring it into the 21st century. And I think well,
Okay.
I've heard reports that the 21st, like bringing the 21st century is also a cool thing, but the fact that a lot of people within like the international relations and who work on foreign governments and things like that have been
Uh-huh.
saying that there's no clear like a central theme to this this presidency, and in terms of foreign policy. Like they flip flop a lot of times, and for
Mm.
sometimes they act like this, for other times they act like that. To the point where other countries, especially like in Europe, don't really know where we stand on things,
Yeah.
because our top diplomat says one thing and our president says another. So it's kind of hard to kind of like state, okay, how do we actually believe in things?
Hmm.
But also I was reading the BBC right now. I'll probably put the article in the description. But they've have come to some type of like not unanimous decision, but some type of like equal understanding in terms of how to deal with North Korea and trying to do it diplomatically. And then you know the Iran deal, especially a lot of people, especially Trump, has made a lot of things of how that has not gone right for the United States, allowing them to have their reactors and things like that. Um, so they've given that to Congress to actually figure out if they're going to stay with the deal they made, and I think one will replace, but in a few other sentences, it's kind of been all over the place. So I agree with you that I will not be surprised if he gets the axe, and I wasn't really surprised when I was hearing the reports that he was gonna probably get axed.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, especially I don't know. What's your take on that?
Well, like I said, okay, well, every time someone's gotten fired from that, from the Trump team, it happens every time where it's like there are reports that he's going to be fired, and then people come out and go, "Oh, no, no, he's not. No, he's not." And then there's like, "Okay, we have even more reports that the person's going to be fired." Like, "Oh, no, he's not. The relationship is great." And then like a week later they get fired.
Hmm.
That's how it's happened every time.
Yeah. So yeah, I want.
And
Yeah, go.
most recently, when they asked Trump, they're like, "Is he going to get fired?" He didn't answer,
Hmm.
which usually he is very much like, "No, he's not going to. What are you talking about?" Like it's all
Yeah,
Trumpy.
how many like people within the White House staff have been switched out? It's like a revolving door up in there. Like the
It
communications
is.
director, the chief of staff got replaced within like 4 or 5 months. That doesn't seem like normal.
And there's Scaramucci or whatever the hell his name was,
Yeah,
Mooch, got fired after 10 days.
yeah. So I mean, like, it's just like your job security is very low, and I mean, there's times where like there's this is not the first time where there's been rumors that someone's gonna get fired and they end up getting fired, right? It's happened with
Yeah.
did it happen with I'm trying to think, who was his former chief of staff? What was his name?
Oh god.
Uh, Breitbart's, he worked for Breitbart, I think.
Yeah.
I forget his name. Uh, but yeah, I think there were rumors that he was gonna get fired too. How they didn't actually see eye to eye, and then he ended up getting the axe. Ben's looking it up right now for me.
Apparently I have to.
Yeah,
That's sad. I've been really out of it this week. It's really bad.
that was me last week.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, I will not be surprised if he actually gets axed, and I think I think it'll put even more of a darker spot on our standing within foreign relations and things of that nature. And this is something we talked about, I think, on the last podcast, how our foreign relation, our standing within the world in
Bannon.
terms Bannon, yeah, Steve Bannon. Our foreign relations is already on a bad level, and to have this guy acts as well as like he was the only person who's actually providing some sort of like not such stability, but some type of direction. So, but they're
Hmm.
also saying that they're going to replace him with the CIA director, the current one right now.
The current one.
Supposedly he's a little bit more closer to Trump in terms of a lot of things. Um, so it would be interesting to kind of see how that turns out and how long it takes to for him to stay in his job.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so I don't know. I was not really surprised when I was hearing all those things. I won't be surprised if that actually happens. So, but yeah, so it'd be interesting to see what happens. I guess another part of the news, since we're staying on U.S. domestic news, so Michael Flynn came out today that he did meet with Russian officials. When this is before he became national security chief, right? Was that what his position was? I believe.
Mm.
He was not actually national security, but he had met with Russian government officials, and supposedly that's like illegal, I guess, in some sense. They had contact, and he said, well, basically he lied and basically said, yeah, he did.
Yeah, it wasn't the thing he did, it was the fact that he lied
Yeah,
about
yeah,
it.
it's the fact that he did lie about it, and so he admitted today that he actually did do it. And so what he's proclaiming right now is the fact that he was told by Trump's transition team to actually go and meet with those people.
Mhm.
And so now here's a little thing that could happen is the fact that if it is found true and if there's evidence of that, then it already makes the Robert Mueller investigation into the firing of Comey even bigger. Um, because basically, how much further does it go? How much more contact did it have?
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think kind of I think we can kind of see it, but the fact that it happened, like it's and out on the open, it's kind of like okay, we'll see kind of where it goes, but it's kind of getting closer to some type of result.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
yeah, so it's kind of moving along. It's chugging along pretty good. What's your
Mhm.
take on that? Do you have any opinions on that, or what it could lead to?
Well, I mean, when it comes to these investigations, like in the past, the thing that the counselor, or goddamn it, you know what I'm talking about. The thing that the people like Mueller are usually initially looking for is
Special
not,
investigator, right, or something like that,
yeah, the special investigator.
something like that.
I think they call him like a counselor, whatever the hell it is. Anyway, the thing that they start looking for is usually not the thing that they end up trying people for.
Hmm.
So like, I don't remember what the hell they were looking for Bill Clinton at first. They were looking at him for something. I don't remember what, but they ended up charging him with, I think lying to Congress, like something like that. Anyway, just the things that they start looking for are not usually what ends up being the thing that people get tried for because they look at everything. They're just looking for any crimes you've committed whatsoever at all.
Hmm. Yeah, and also the fact that you don't have it doesn't have to be a law. It doesn't have to be a criminal like law. To actually no, yeah, they're charging him.
Obstruction of justice. Okay.
They charged Bill Clinton with lying under the oath to a federal grand jury and obstruction of justice.
Grand jury.
Um, I'm not sure what the article.
I was right. It's called a council. Okay. It just sounds weird.
Yeah, it says
I've read it so many times, but I've never like said it out loud.
okay. It says this people transfer to Pentagon. She confided a coworker that I'm just reading over Clinton to see what he
uh,
did. But yeah, actually, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be like a crime for you to be what's it called, impeached. Actually, it's something within like the Senate can vote on whether it's considered to be impeachable by their laws, I guess.
hmm
I'm trying to look see what's going on with the thing, but yeah, yeah. But the fact that you don't have to be that's not the criminal law to actually get impeached, you know. And
No, you don't. But I mean, I think historically that's the only time presidents have been impeached, though, right? It's just,
yeah, yeah. It's already bad enough. No one's gonna trust you anyways, so it's kind of like you should probably get the boot anyways.
yeah,
Um,
well, impeachment doesn't really
yeah,
force
no,
them out.
no. Impeachment is on the verge of what's it called? There's impeachment and then there's what's it called? Getting losing your presidency, I guess.
uh,
I forget what the official term is, but
um,
everyone knows what I mean. But yeah, impeachment is not getting kicked out as president, you know, because that's already
uh-huh.
happened before. Actually, it hasn't happened. Not sorry, losing your presidency via that, you know, through impeachment or after impeachment, has never happened. It almost happened to what's his face,
Nixon.
Nixon. Yeah. Um, so it'll be kind of interesting to see how far it goes and how long it goes, but it seems to be moving along pretty well. Um, yeah, and then also on other news, and since we're going to kind of spread out now, this was yesterday, I believe. I think yesterday or the day before, but China, I mean not China, North Korea launched another ballistic missile, and supposedly it goes farther than it has ever gone before.
Mm.
And in response, Trump has asked for all nations to cut ties with North Korea, and this especially includes China for cutting off their oil,
hmm
which I'm not sure how far China is willing to go with that.
Yeah, it's
It's there,
curious. I,
yeah. I mean, yeah, go.
I don't know. I don't really know. I feel like I don't know enough about China's inner politics to really be able to predict what they're going to do at all. I just find it
Yeah.
interesting to see how they don't really want to do anything.
I think I think that's our only real ally. I'm not sure if Russia's kind of an ally, but not really. They're more like
Mm, common
we're
enemy.
we're okay with each other, but we're not friends, I guess. Type of thing going
Yeah.
on there. But interesting enough, Putin believed that that it was the United States who were kind of you know, riling up North Korea with the way in which they speak and all these things like that. The United
Ah,
States.
they're just saying that.
Um,
Honestly, though,
yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of is.
It is, but I'm not sure if China's actually going to take that next step. I'm not sure how far they want to push the North Koreans,
Hmm.
because it's like their only real partner within the region. It's like having a vassal that doesn't do shit, but yet they just screw you up. Like they get you involved in these foreign wars, and it's just like why am I friends with you? Oh yeah, because you're my only friend.
Hmm.
But
That's a good question. Who is China allied with? I actually don't really know.
they're kind of pissing off everybody because of the fact they're building
Sure.
islands, like these little man-made
Oh
islands,
yeah, I know about that.
and
Yeah,
they're kind
sure.
of like they're hurting other nations believe their territorial borders, like their water borders, are being you know impeded on or encroached upon.
Hmm.
So they're not really friends with anybody in the region. So kind of North Korea is like their only real ally. But then again, China's like a freaking huge country, so like they're like six countries within themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But North Korea is like the only external partner in the region. To be fair, maybe Vietnam, but not really. I don't see why they would be friends.
I honestly don't know about
So
Vietnam.
I would just say that probably North Korea is like their only real partner within the region.
Who are the Philippines allied with?
Kind of the U.S.
Oh,
Yeah, the U.S. probably the closest thing.
okay.
They have. There's a lot of I mean, there are a lot. You know, a lot of the Asian countries are connected through economic. Like there's like this. I forget what it's called, but the U.S. failed to be a part of it like earlier this year. But basically, it was like a trade deal among
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Asian countries or Southeast
Hmm.
Asian countries in the
Yeah.
Pacific, and the U.S. recently got out of that. And on that note, supposedly China's been getting a lot more involved in the region, and are actually taking like almost like a world leader kind of stance, especially like on things like the Paris peace deal and trying to become
Yeah.
global energy, and especially in Asia, how now they're becoming a lot like almost like the hegemon in the area even more.
Yeah.
Um, so it seems like China's taking a lot more of that role, but it should be interesting to see how far if they want to push the North Koreans, because it's almost if you push too hard, then you're probably going to lead to a state collapse, and China does not want that. They don't want a mass of refugees going into to China now mess up
Yep.
their
That's
government.
one of the biggest things. Is no one wants to deal with the North Korean refugees.
Exactly.
Too nationalistic.
Yep. Too nationalistic. So it'd be interesting to see if they want to go that path.
Hmm.
But it's almost like, what do you fear more? North Korea that just goes off the rails and one country or the other misinterprets one another and they get into a war,
Hmm.
or they stop the oil and they kind of get to that red line to where it hopefully
Mm.
doesn't break them too much. It'll be a very
Yeah.
delicate balance if they try to do that. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's gonna if and a lot of people are saying there's something there you can't really do much with North Korea. I mean, you can, but it'll be kind of like too challenging in a sense. Like
Yeah.
they've already put more what's it called not restrictions, but they put more economic sanctions on them on the North Koreans. The United
Hmm.
States definitely did. So that's the real only diplomatic way that they can actually do it, because North Korea, especially now, they fear their survival, especially with President Trump and the way he kind of acts.
Sure.
And especially the fun, I think it was also recently this week or the last week how they actually Trump actually put North Korea back on the was it the terror list or whatever, like the just like these are
Yeah.
countries don't like,
Yeah. Well, yeah. Terrorist. Yeah. Terrorist list. Nothing.
some name like that. So I mean that kind of like dialogue doesn't help the situation at all. Um,
Yeah.
so I mean yeah, it'll probably take another nuclear. I think the next step is another nuclear test, or the fact that they can test the fact that they can not test, but they can show that they can miniaturize the nuclear bomb to put on a missile.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest next step for them that they might do is actually having an active nuclear weapon, testing it in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah, that's the
Because that would involve shooting an active nuclear weapon over Japan.
yeah. So it would be interesting to see how far it goes. But people are saying that there's like, I mean, I was reading a BBC article and they were saying that there's like no clear like line. You take this line or that line, it's definitely gonna work. And I don't think that's the case. I think there is a line.
Okay.
but the fact that you have the administration you have right now and the relationship between the president and our top diplomat, Tillerson, it's definitely not going to make that easier. And I think
Mm.
that might be, what's it called, not fading, but hiding, or I'm trying to think of the better word for it, but like it's kind of like hiding the like that true next step. You know what I'm saying? There's like a lot of like just like not disturbances, but like fog in the way, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't really see it. It's
Fog
kind
of
of
war.
yeah, kind of thing going on. But I think there is a way to kind of do it. Um, I don't have the answer because I'm not too steep in like the economic, political, like historical areas of it, and kind of like what's been done, before to kind of
Mhm.
get these two sides to come together. But I think there is a way. There's always a way. And I think you just have to have the right people and like the right, in the right areas to hopefully do those things. So I'm not sure if we're gonna ever get that with this presidency. If we do,
Probably not.
probably not. But
But,
hopefully, I mean, I hope to God it works because like I'm not signing up. That's for sure.
well, it's okay. You already signed up for the draft, most likely.
Yeah, I know, but I'm a college student. They're not gonna choose me just yet.
Just yet.
Not yet, in case it gets bad. Um, so yeah, that was pretty interesting in the news. I believe in terms of like I'm trying to think of anything else. With the what's it called? Not Andorra, but it was Angola. What was the country that was going through a coup?
uh, what?
I'm
Going
trying to
through a
think.
coup?
Yeah, remember it was an African country. I'm trying to think right now.
Oh, fuck. I'm gonna say the guy's name instead. Yeah, man.
Zimbabwe. It was Zimbabwe, wasn't it?
Yes, thank you.
But Robert Mugabe did step down, and they actually are bringing in a new president. And so it seems like it all went well to a certain extent. They got a
Hmm.
new president. Supposedly, he's gonna be like a lot more open to other countries. He's gonna try to be like the president that everyone wants, which is cool. But then again, it'll be to see like how if it's actually gonna pan out in the long term.
Hmm.
But it seems like they got it done, which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they got him to sort of step down peacefully, so that was a good step. That's a very important step.
But they also say
Now you
that.
just have to
But they also
go
say
ahead.
that it says that there's been given like military figures who probably helped with the coup, have been given key cabinet jobs.
Well, yeah, and the guy who was the old vice president is going to be the new president. So, it's looking like it might not be great, but well, like I said, we'll have to see. Have
Yeah.
to see where it goes because who knows? It could turn out great, but it's not looking like it will.
Yeah, I mean, like, especially when you give, it's almost like the military's like, we helped you. We're not going to put our face on it because we want to kind of hide our involvement in a sense, like we were doing
Hmm.
it for our country. But I would not be surprised if they are actually working behind the scenes and like being puppet. You know what I'm saying? I probably,
Yeah.
it'll probably be like that. I will not be surprised if it works like that. Also in the news as well, this is not really historically important, but just I like soccer, so I'm just gonna say this.
Okay.
Um, so they've created the groups for the World Cup, and again the U.S. are not in there, so I'll kind of read them off right now. I
Okay.
think I'm loading up the group right now, so I think the most interesting group is probably gonna be Group B, because Portugal and Spain have been put in the same group. That'll be awesome. Whenever they played against each other, it'll be all the same. I say the group of death would probably be group. I'm trying to think. Probably group F. You have Germany, Mexico, Sweden, South Korea. There's not.
Mm,
There's some pretty good countries. Germany, of course, are the World Cup winners, and if they win their next World Cup, they'll be the second team to go back to back.
cool.
The only country who's done it before is Brazil, I think in 1950 something.
Mm,
Um, and they also will tie Brazil as for 5 World Cups for the most.
hmm.
Um, yeah, but it should be interesting to see kind of what goes on. That's being held in Russia 2018, so that's gonna be my summer watching those games at like fucking what's the time difference like gonna be like? It's gonna be like crazy, yeah.
In where?
Russia from here to
Um,
I
what was
don't
that?
know.
Like 15 hours, I think.
I'm gonna
No, no,
test.
that's no.
I'm gonna test right now. I'm gonna look up
Wait, which
robot
part of Russia?
Moscow. Let's see.
In Moscow?
It's 11 hours ahead. So
Dang,
right,
I was gonna say 12. Okay,
it's 8:05 a.m. right now, and it's tomorrow. So like what?
it's tomorrow.
So if a game starts at like 1 o'clock there, it'll probably be like what, like 3 o'clock here, about.
Sure.
That's
That
about right. So I'm gonna be staying up at 3 o'clock in the morning watching soccer games,
sounds like fun.
or recording them. I'm recording it.
No, don't record it. Just watch it. You have to watch it live, otherwise
Oh
it's not as
Jesus.
interesting.
There was a funny story how I think the World Cup was going on either in Brazil or in South Africa. It was in South Africa, but some dude in China like died of sleep deprivation because he was trying to watch the games.
Okay.
Because like it's like the hour difference is just so messed up.
Yeah.
So like,
Gee.
so he was like he was like a true fan. He's a true homie.
How do you can't die of sleep deprivation in 1 hour? Were they doing games nonstop or something?
Probably, probably,
Jeez. Okay.
yeah. So I'm like, I'm probably not gonna go to that extreme because if I'm gonna go to, it is the summer though. But if I do have to go to sleep, I will go
No
to
better
sleep.
time to die than during the summer. That's what I always say.
Brilliant. Um, so yeah, that should be awesome and cool. Especially being held in Russia. So it should be interesting how good the Russians do. It'll definitely help Putin's standing and reign. I bet all that Russian nationalism up in there, especially if they do well. Should be interesting to see what's going on. So I guess we can kind of move on. Is there any other news
Yeah.
that's been floating around that you think we should touch on before we move to more interesting topics?
Um. Yeah, probably. I don't remember though.
I'm trying to think myself, but
There was something.
there's a
Shoot, where's
royal.
my?
They got Prince Harry is getting married to an American.
Oh yeah, that was kind of interesting. I read an article about that. It was interesting.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting because I guess it's the first time. Well, actually, I think so basically with the church, the Christian, not the Christian church, the English church, which is funny enough. There's a little bit of funny history on it. Essentially, it's Henry the Fourth, or Henry the Eighth. Was it Henry the Fourth or Eighth? I forget.
I think it's the eighth.
Henry the Eighth.
If you're talking about what I think you are.
Yeah. I think it was Henry the Eighth. Funny enough, so when he broke away from the church because he wanted to marry his, I guess
Oh.
he wanted a divorce and he got his divorce, and so he broke away from the church. And the actual Church of England, in terms of like the way in which it operates, is essentially
Mhm.
Catholic. Like it's essentially like a Catholic church. But of
Yeah.
course, the only difference is that the King of England or the Queen of England is the head of the church. But going on to why it's so interesting is the fact that in 2005 it was it was recent, like either in the 90s or 2005 or early 2000s where before you could not marry somebody who was divorced if you were a royal,
Mhm.
and you couldn't marry someone who was a Catholic.
Hmm.
And the reason for Catholic is because they don't like Catholics, essentially, historically. But those were amended like really recently, and so Prince Harry's new soon to be fiance right now,
Mhm.
she is foreign divorce, and I think she was a Catholic or she was practicing Catholic. And she's actually, not only she is American, which is like yay for us, America just winning.
Royal, first Royal American.
Well, not technically, but yeah, kind of.
No, I'm joking. I'm joking.
Because I think Mary Simpson was the first. She was married to the king who was gonna be the king who was king for a little bit. This was
Okay.
Elizabeth, who's the current king right now, queen. That's her father. I guess her uncle married an American, but he stepped down from king
And say, didn't he have to Yeah, he had to
yeah,
completely step down from the throne
because
and
he was
stuff.
married to someone who was divorced.
Yes.
So those are cool things, and actually she's interracial too, so she's
Mm.
mixed, which is awesome. And so it kind of shows like the new monarchy kind of coming up and doing its thing, which is cool. Getting with the times, which is cool. I will. It's funny enough. I actually watched the Williams wedding.
Oh.
It was like fucking like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I watched that shit.
You didn't die of sleep deprivation?
I almost did. I was like,
Oh my.
I was starting to see. I was starting to see the dark a little bit. Yeah, it was actually no. The reason why I mean I don't give a shit about oh my god, like they're so pop culture and all that things. I don't really care about that. I was doing from like a historical point of view.
Uh-huh.
Like this is a tradition that's been going on for like six freaking 800 years for like a long last time. And so it's kind of like a cultural like event that I want to see in the flesh, not in the flesh, but like I wanted to see it live.
Not quite. Yeah.
That was actually kind of cool. But I did wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I think I was in, I think I was in high school. I think I was a senior. It was 2012. I think they were married.
I don't remember.
I think I was a junior in high school when I watched it. I remember because my mom woke up to go to work and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm watching the royal wedding." Why aren't you watching the royal wedding? Just kidding. But yeah, so I'm probably gonna watch it again because I just want to see it as a cultural thing. Which again, plus it's American, so we gotta support our peoples. Um, yeah, so that was kind of interesting to see that. So I'm happy for them. And actually, Prince Harry's pretty cool because he actually served in Afghanistan. Um,
um,
because he's not that important.
you can die. We can make the air our general. It's okay.
um, but yeah, so that was pretty cool. So I guess we're kind of moving that direction. So we should just move to our like small art stories that we found that were interesting.
Okay.
Um, let's see. I'm trying to do. Okay, so let's get into. We're gonna start a little bit funny, but not funny, but kind of not funny. So recently,
Okay.
2 days ago, I like the title of the story is funny, but the actual within is not funny. But the
Ah,
ti-
gotcha. Okay.
the title of the
I know which one
story
you're talking about.
the title of the story is Germany's Nazi grandma given jail term for Holocaust denial. See, she was 89 years old and she's being sentenced to 14 months in prison for Holocaust denial, which is a crime in Germany because
Oh
they're
yeah.
they're super like Nazis happened and we're not gonna say it was cool, pretty much.
Yes. Good
Um,
summary.
yeah. So what? So there's a couple things. So her and her husband, I believe, uh,
hmm
or late husband, so she's not alive anymore. But supposedly she was handing out. Well, hold up. There's a couple things. So she was first given a jail term last year, but received additional punishments for handing out pamphlets repeating her beliefs. Those attending a court. And supposedly she was saying there's a couple things. So let me just read it out at Tadio. So she's giving out leaflets. She said that. Oh my God. She okay. Just a couple things I need to tell you guys. Yeah. Initially, she was sentenced to 8 months in jail in 2016 after she claimed that Auschwitz was not a concentration camp. In a letter to the mayor of of the German town Deltmode. Okay, so that's already bad. But after giving the judge and prosecutor leaflets entitled "Only the Truth Will Set You Free" during her appeal session, she was given 10 additional months of imprisonment. Her overall sentence was reduced to 14 months because she's like hella old as hell. But uh,
Fair.
says she's been convicted on 5 other occasions for similar charges of incitement of racial hatred, butchering free laws. But her husband and herself were members of the Nazi Party during the Second World War, and
Mm.
they founded a now banned education center where she had written for far right, and she has written for a far right wing magazine where she argued that the Holocaust never happened.
Mm.
And this is not the. I mean, Iran, I think, is another country that also believes the Holocaust didn't happen as well.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah, as a national thing, like it didn't happen. Which I'm like, how could you fake that? Like,
Especially with oh shit, I always forget if it was it Churchill who did it or was it oh whatever. Whoever did it, one of the leaders was like, okay, we need to make sure we document everything because people are gonna say that this didn't happen because it's too crazy.
and the
And we have
fact, yeah, go
pictures
on.
and videos of
Yeah,
everything everywhere.
yes.
And it's like this is pretty irrefutable proof that it happened.
I think, and
Why are you still doing
even
this?
even the Soviet Union's like, bro, this has happened, and we kill our own people.
Yeah.
Like this shit's bad. Like it's like the
Yeah.
people who would actually do things to these people said it happened.
Yeah.
Like everyone says it happened. You know what I'm saying? Like
hmm
you still see, you can go to the ovens. Like what were they making cakes and shit in the middle of Poland? Like in those big ass ovens or like those chambers, those weren't for showers. Like that shit actually happened. So it's just like really. And I think it's almost like that idea of like almost like that like this big conspiracy thing, right? You know what I'm saying? like the fact that there's like the world we're not living in is not real, and like the proof that we see of does it's being kind of like the fake news in a sense how or like or good example is like the idea of like in like the slavery that's going on within Libya. Did you hear about that?
What about it? What do you mean?
So what happened is that the what happened in Libya, right? Before. So Gaddafi used to be there, but then he was toppled
Okay.
by U.S. led intervention through
Yeah.
murder drones and like that.
Hmm.
So what happened is that Libya has been going kind of a down spiral to the point where there's people within Libya who are selling migrants who are trying to go to Europe as slaves.
Oh
Um,
yes. Okay, that's what you're talking about. Okay, yeah.
and even Donald Trump's basically saying that yeah, this is not happening as you've seen it in this fake news. I'm like, bro, there's freaking video of this shit. Like, you don't make this shit up. Like, there's so much, It's just this idea of like there's this idea of like fake news and like there's everything that you see is fake and that that you have to kind of like live within like it's things that are happening that you just cannot believe, so it must be fake. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, he grew up as he had a billionaire dad, so
Yeah.
he's never even worked a day in his life, let alone had to suffer any kind of hardship.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that like I think it's connected to that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like flat Earth, it's, all these things that it doesn't make sense. Like it has to be fake. You know what I'm saying? I don't know why people think like that. I,
It like I think it was the kind of thing we are talking about before. Where it's like, oh, I have this hidden knowledge that no one else has. I'm so smart because I realized the truth.
yeah.
That kind of stupid thing. Yeah, it's idiotic. It's just dumb.
Hmm.
um, yeah, I don't know. You're right. It kind of baffles me too, but I mean that's because we're like normal.
I don't know. I'm not normal. That's not for sure.
Yeah, that's true. We're not normal in most ways. Let's say this: we're intelligent and critical thinking enough to not just fall for a bunch of random bullshit.
Yes, we have a certain way of mind. Maybe that might impede us of knowing the not knowing or the unknowable. Um,
Exactly. What?
I don't know. Makes no sense. Friggin' X Files and this shit. Um, so that's kind of interesting to kind of see that kind of little connection. I think that's like one example, but we can see it in a bunch of examples, within our lives.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I found that very interesting. The fact is like, it's like I don't know. It's like the moon landing, right?
Hmm.
Shit. Another interesting story that we found was the fact that, and this has kind of been we've kind of seeing this, but the fact that supposedly robot
They're
automation.
taking over the world.
Yeah, it says that they'll be taking over 800 million jobs by 2030, and this is a new report from a consultancy. What's it called? Consultancy. It's from the McKinsey Global Institute. Okay, they found that through a study of 46 countries, 800 occupations by 2030 will be replaced by automation. It says that up to 1/5 of the global workforce will be affected of this, and they're saying that most of the times it will affect like richer countries like Germany and U.S. Um, in other poor countries, probably won't be that much because there's no like what's it called? There's no money there to develop robots to get robots to work there, and plus it's cheaper to have poor people work it, so there's no point in doing automation. But in the U.S., it will be a lot cheaper because they're saying the people who will be affected the most. Let me just find that right now. Says specialized low working jobs. Okay, that's affected. Da, da. Says sorry. So sorry, they're saying a lot of mortgage brokers, paralegals, accountants, some back office staff are especially vulnerable to automation. So no mailroom person, I guess, anymore. That job's gone. Um, they're saying like a lot of like people who are making food or things of that nature, or like,
Hmm.
but they're saying that jobs around human interaction, such as doctors, lawyers, and teachers and bartenders, are seen by McKinsey to be less prone to automation. But then there's another thing on that because you've heard of like the online schools and like things like the Khan Academy, things of that
Hmm.
nature. How we're getting those, online education to where you don't really need a teacher in the front to kind of teach 100 million people,
Mm.
like kind of technology taking over the workplace.
Yeah.
But also, sorry, have you heard of those program like have we have programmers right now are like scientists or whatever. Have you heard like
Uh,
those? Yeah, have you heard like those programs that can actually like make new programs or like
oh,
figure
you
out?
mean like computers that can learn? You mean that stuff?
Yeah, have you heard of those things?
Yeah.
So I don't. I think that's kind of we're not. I think there's computers that do that right now, but I don't think they're become like a big thing. Maybe after 2030. Um, but people have been saying this how like work robots are going to take over our lives and things like that. But
Hmm.
the funny thing, the article also notes this too, and I kind of make sense of this. They said that, but they caution that new technology will yield new types of jobs, similar to the introduction of personal computer in the 1980s. And
Yeah, I'm skeptical about
yes,
some of that. I don't
and
know.
and they also
The
sorry, one more thing really quickly, and they also believe that we'll see a transition on a scale of the early 1900s when much of the global industry switched from farming to factory work. I see that. I agree with that. What was you going to say though?
okay, so the thing is, we're it's not like we're switching from one kind of manual machine to another kind of manual machine. We're switching from you need 20 people to do this job to you need one machine and one person to take care of the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're switching since we're switching to computers can think. When we switch to like, oh, we have lawnmowers now or whatever, it's like, okay, well, we still need someone to go till the field. You get to do it with a lawnmower instead of an ox.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when you're switching over to computerized things, even though a couple new jobs get created, very few new jobs get created. Like, do you know what I mean?
I agree. I mean, I can see that, but then again, you have to kind of think about how technology has progressed. They mentioned the 1900s how everyone was farming, and then you had factory workers. There's always going to be that new job. I mean, there's always going to be that something else.
Maybe. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of hard to compare it historically because, like I said, even when you were switching from agriculture to factory work, we're going from something that needs people to do this type of manual labor to this other thing where the same number of people need to do a different type of manual labor. With
Mm-hmm.
computers, it's hey, we now have a robot that can do the work of 50 people.
Mm-hmm.
Like the robot doesn't create enough new jobs to sustain that. And even the article was saying like hundreds of millions of people will probably not have a job within a decade and a half.
Mm-hmm. I'm just
Only things that
yeah.
require personal contact, like teaching or counseling or certain types of doctors, things like that.
But they'll probably. I'm trying to think of like what type of jobs could be created from this. I'm trying to see what the article states will be kind of like. Um, trying to see. I haven't really dig deep into this thing. Um, trying to see. It says okay, so they're saying that like it says like the introduction of personal computer in the 1980s, which led to technology support work and online businesses. It says report authors urge governments to enact plans to retain their citizens. So they're basically saying there will. I'm trying to dig deeper into this, but I don't think they really know what the new jobs will be. They just kind of assume that there will be new jobs for these people.
I think that's a bad assumption because that I don't know. I've seen that around where it's like, oh yeah, just new jobs will just form, but it's like, okay, well, what new jobs? It seems like we're gonna, they've been pushing people have been pushing for things like basic income, and this is one of the main reasons that they talk about where it's like, hey, the jobs are gonna go away and nothing's gonna replace them unless we start becoming like an interplanetary species or something where it's like, hey, we need, 10 million people to go to Mars real quick and start mining stuff, or we need people to do,
So
you know,
so let's
there's
do
only so much space and there's only so many
let's do
jobs.
this. So if we think like in science fiction, right?
Okay.
Let's take it to Star Wars land for a little bit. Um, everyone seems happy. There's things for them to do.
Uh,
Well, not
I don't.
it's Star Wars, so people are killing each other. But you know what I'm saying. I think that humans have a way of finding out how to do new things, and you know, if we're let's contextualize a little bit, right? Let's
Uh
contextualize.
huh.
So let's pretend we're like a farmer in like farmer at the turn of the 20th century, right? Let's
Uh-huh.
put ourselves like in France or in the UK or in Russia, for example.
Yeah.
Like your entire existence was to farm, right? You're
Yeah.
basically getting enough money, not enough money, but enough food to feed yourselves. But then as we start going towards the late 19th to early 20th century,
hmm
we start to see industrialization come in, right?
Okay.
This is the new technology. This is the robot, right? Do you need six people working on a farm, right? It's almost like, do you need six people making a car or whatever, right?
hmm
So what happens is that new ways of producing things, new technology like the cotton gin come in, right? To
hmm
you need less labor doing certain jobs, and what happens is that you have overpopulation in these farming areas, especially what happened in Russia, as we're learning about right now. You have to move to these urban centers to then get these new jobs, right?
hmm
To the fact, especially where you come to now, where how many people like if you were to take a pie of like employment within the United States, like farming would
hmm
be like 2% maybe, like a very small sliver. You know what I'm saying? Because you have a lot more. You have automation who's taken over. To plow a whole bunch of land, you only need like one tractor almost. You know what I'm saying, right? Or
Uh-huh.
one of those different things. And all these people got new jobs. You know what I'm saying, right?
Okay.
And then now you're starting to see a lot less factory workers coming, right? Where has a lot of those jobs moved to? The service area, right? The service industry, correct?
Okay.
So what I'm saying is that like I don't think we would ever really predict the future.
I agree.
But if we were to look at those people, they I don't think they would ever know that what's gonna happen to their lives. It's like okay, like I can't farm anymore. That's what I've been doing all this entire time, right?
hmm
But I'm not sure if it's like a this might be like a modern day thing, which has been kind of like quashed a little bit. But I feel like the economy has a way of finding new jobs for these people,
Uh,
and it will take time. But I think there will always be something there. I'm not sure if people know it, but I think there will be something there. But I think they also state also is that people will have to go to college a lot more. They say that I'm trying to look for that right now. It says in developed countries the need for university education will grow as jobs that require less education shrink. And where are the jobs that require less education shrink? Education, like those low service jobs, like working at McDonald's or being
hmm
a gardener or whatever. Does it say? It also say specialized low. It also say that specialized low wage jobs such as gardening, plumbing, and care work will also be less affected by automation. The study predicted. Okay, so those jobs will still stay the same.
Yeah.
So I guess and they say about you
I think
also
that's a really optimistic viewpoint. um, I don't know. It seems like okay. Well, so we know actually that wealth has been being concentrated more and more and more into very few people's hands, and it seems like as automation takes hold, that'll just happen almost exponentially, where suddenly you'll have 50% unemployment or something like that. Where I don't know. I don't see what possible jobs could suddenly just appear.
okay. What are the possible? Okay, here we go. I'm looking at the report itself. Is what are the possible scenarios for employment growth? Workers displaced by automation. This is a report. It says workers displaced by automation are easily identified, while new jobs that are created indirectly from technology are less visible, and spread across different sectors and geographies.
hmm
We model some potential sources of new labor demands that may spur job creation. It says may even net 2030 even net of automation. I'm trying to see. It said. For the first few trends, we model only a trending scenario based on current spending and investment observed across countries. It says we estimate that 250 million to 280 million new jobs could be created from the impact of rising incomes on consumer goods. It says that we estimate that 250 million to 280 million new jobs could be created from the impact of rising incomes on consumer goods alone, with up to additional 50 to 85 million jobs generated from higher health and education spending.
So we're looking at
Like
like 300 million jobs to replace the 800, though.
yeah. And they give a whole bunch of like different scenarios. I'll probably put this up. It's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Infrastructure and buildings, investment in renewable energy, efficiency and climate adaptation, marketization of previously unpaid domestic work. Okay. Um, I'll have to send this to you, Ben, to make you a believer that things will happen, things will be positive, things will be okay. I'm
Okay.
I'm okay. I'm okay because like hold on. This is automation AI will lift productivity and economic growth by millions. Okay, yeah. Okay, but I'm saying that I don't really care because I'm be a teacher, hopefully, or maybe like a I don't know, work for the state in some type of way. But I mean, I
Mm.
can. They're saying there are jobs going to be created, and they're just estimating. So it might be shittier, like you say, or it might even be better. So you never really know.
Hard to say. It's true. I mean, the field I'm going into as well isn't really a replaceable thing.
Hopefully.
I'm not like personally worried. Well, it's something where you have to deal with people's emotions. So I mean,
Okay.
robots aren't gonna really be handled that. But like, I don't know. It just there's a lot of jobs that are very easily replaceable, and there's a lot of people with those jobs. I'm just skeptical, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the economy will find a way. Humans adapt. We find things that we can pay people for. I don't know. I wonder how long it would take us to get to the point where like we're all robots, and we're all just kind of like brains inside of a machine, and we're just kind of like just
You mean
chilling,
like cyborgs? I
or
don't
we're
know.
just like chilling within these brain bands. We're just like we're not working. We just have like robots making sure we're taking care of us.
There's multiple movies about that.
I know, like The Matrix, for example.
Oh, okay. I was thinking something less dystopian, but yeah,
Oh
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. I don't know. That's probably way. It will kind of suck though. I'm not sure. Unless you're like, what if we're like in that simulation right now and we're pretending that we're like living a life and we're speaking right now, but in reality we're like in that vat and we're
There's
pretending
so many like people that hypothesize that. They're like, what if, man? What if this is just a
a simulation.
simulation? Or like, what if our whole world is a simulation and we're just part of the program? That kind of a thing.
Isn't what's his face? Who's that guy from Tesla? What's his name?
Musk.
Didn't he also predict that we're like living within like a
He said he supports that hypothesis. Yeah, he's like, as our computers become more powerful, once we're able to simulate an entire world, which we're nowhere near yet, but eventually, possibly, once we're able to do it, the chances that we're also part of one like go up exponentially or something like that. I don't know.
that's crazy.
I think it's interesting, but kind of like it's one of those things that it's a philosophy thing. It's definitely philosophy where it's fun to think about, but it's not at all helpful to actually. If it's true, it can't affect us in any way really,
Hmm.
unless someone figures out how to hack it. Then it'd be cool.
That'd be awesome, like the Matrix and shit.
Yeah.
I'm Neo. I know I am.
Oh yeah,
I'm the
totally.
one.
You're such a good computer hacker, man.
I know.
You're amazing.
So I guess we can get into let's see, or one domestic thing, basically saying that why there's another article basically saying that American infrastructure is shitty.
Okay.
And basically, yeah, we all know that. Okay, let's move
Yeah,
on.
it's true.
We need to put
See,
money.
that's the other thing. You said like, oh, the market will create new jobs. That's when I'm like, maybe the government will create new jobs.
Mhm.
Like the government might come in and be like, hey, we want to, we're just gonna hire, a few million people to go fix all the infrastructure shit.
That's
That I could see happening, but I don't see
that's short
like
term
people
though.
just being like,
That's almost like the Great Depression almost, like the New
oh yeah,
Deal.
it's extremely short term. But I'm just saying like that's something I could see happening.
Hmm. I know. I think
And
so.
then
Yeah.
everything would go bad, and then there'd be revolts.
I don't know. The Great Depression turned out well. I mean, we had to fight a huge ass war, so maybe
Uh,
we have to find someone to fight. We'll fight Russia.
I would say if we get into another big war, then we'll be fine, but I'd rather not.
Well, no, we'll be okay.
We just have to adopt basic income and actually get corporations to pay taxes.
Hmm.
From the looks of it, based on those documents that were released a couple weeks ago, it sounds like if all the corporations actually paid all their taxes, we wouldn't be in debt. I was kind of surprised, but it kind of seems like it.
Hmm. So yeah, that sounds surprising. It's crazy how bad it actually is. Like, it's bad. It's like almost a bomb that's
Yeah.
gonna burst. Like literally, the bomb that's gonna burst.
Yeah.
But the government has no money to pay for those things, so they're probably not gonna deal with it. It's funny enough. I was driving in Sacramento. I forget which bridge it is.
Okay.
But we were going towards I forget where we were going. It was
Oh.
by the what was it by the mall. The what's it
Mhm.
called? I forget what it's called, but
Mall.
basically the mall. Um, but we were trying to cross this bridge, and my father was like, he's always afraid to go across that bridge
Okay.
because it's like it like literally needs to be fixed, like needs to be
Okay.
fixed. But no one
Mm.
has the money to fix it, so he's always afraid to go across this bridge because he feels like at any time it
Jeez.
can just crash.
Okay.
I'm just like, and it's over like I think it's the American River, I think. And
Okay.
it's just like,
Mm.
oh, that's good to know. And it's also good to know that there's like millions of cars that go through here, and it's always in traffic, and there's always cars on top of it. It's just like that's a recipe. It's like it's only people are only gonna fix things when it goes bad, and it's gonna screw everybody else. Like,
Yeah, the old Republican adage of why fix it if it ain't broken.
good stuff. So I guess we can get into some, I guess some good, in terms of not life story, but like culturally like progressive things, I guess you can call
Oh,
it.
okay.
So I guess we start with the first one. It's a little bit closer to my heart. So they figured out who's gonna play Mulan in the live action version, Disney version of it, and it is
Hmm.
a person by the name of, let's me get this right, Li Yufi. Oh, my China, that must have been a terrible. If my pronunciation
That
of English,
I have to say that was pretty bad.
yeah, it's like that professor you have.
Say what?
It's like that professor you had that
Oh
mispronounces
God, yeah,
Mulan.
that one. I mean, she's still my professor.
Yeah. So
Oh man.
so thing about her is that she is actually. Hold on, I'm trying to see what's going on. She's actually American, I think. She was raised in New York.
She's American, yeah.
Yeah, but she's been involved in a bunch of Chinese films, and she's a very big Chinese star over there. But
Oh really? Oh cool.
she speaks perfect English, and she's also a very good singer. I take it. So and this is in response. People were like, "Yeah, that's cool," because it's some playing a Chinese person, and it's not a white person playing it. So everyone's all happy for that. I'm pretty happy with it. As long as she sings well, I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? She
I mean,
said,
the Milan in the animated one was Asian.
yeah, actually
She was Chinese, in fact.
yeah, no, I'm
Well,
saying,
she was American, but her parents were Chinese.
yeah, I think it was what was the actress who played the voice of Ming Na Wen with the
Yeah.
Chinese American who voiced Mulan. Fun enough, she's
Hmm.
on the show Agents of Shield. She's actually
Yeah,
pretty
I'm
good.
actually gonna see her this weekend at Heroes and Villains Con.
Really?
Hmm.
Can you give me an autograph?
No, it costs money.
Really? How much?
Oh, you know what though? My mom's actually getting an autograph for one of her friends from her.
Have her put it two on there and then cut it in half for me.
Oh, jeez. I don't know about that. But yeah,
Um,
it's a convention for like all the superhero stuff, and because she's on Agents of Shield, she's gonna be there.
that's tight. Yeah, I like her. Do you watch the show?
No, I don't. I too many shows. I haven't been able to watch all of them.
I like that show except for like the current season. It just kind of like repeats itself. It's just
Mm.
like, oh my god, there's an inside mole. Oh my god, it's like there's someone turned on them. Like, okay, we've seen this in the last three seasons. Like, can you change it? The only good thing about that show, we're kind of getting off topic for something important, but um, is the fact that they bring in like the Avengers and all those things. They kind of tie the movies in pretty well. That's a cool thing about it.
Mhm.
But that's cool. Like, hopefully you say hi to her and tell her to say hi and all that good stuff. But yeah, this is kind of a response to the whitewashing that's been going, the supposed whitewashing that's going on. Or it's no, not supposed. It's
In the past
in the
and
past. It's
somewhat in the present too. Yeah.
yeah, to a certain extent.
God, did you ever see the Dragon Ball Z movie?
No, what is it? Is it bad?
Oh, it's considered one of the worst uh, anime to live adaptions ever.
Hmm.
Like I think it's actually considered the worst ever.
Is it just
It's
because of the story and everything,
no.
the
Oh
whitewashing?
yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, no, no. I mean, yeah, the whitewashing or whatever. Goku is like really, really white, and he isn't Goku, and it's terrible. No, everything about it is pretty much just terrible. Just the story is, yeah, everything about it is terrible. Let's just say that much.
So, funny enough, Mulan is one of my favorite Disney ones. I think also the message within it is also good. The art style was awesome within it.
Hmm.
The content of the story I liked, and just the two songs are amazing. Reflections and I'm like a man at you, which are like I was playing those like on repeats like all week. That was my
Did you
go-to
ever
song.
see the sequel?
Yeah, for like five
I ha-
minutes.
I've never seen it. I didn't know there was one until
It's on
a couple
Netflix.
of years ago.
It's on
Oh God,
Netflix.
no.
You
That's
guys,
okay.
you should watch it.
That's okay.
You should watch it
That's
and then
okay.
watch it and then give us your review of it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Oh
So
no.
another cool story that was found is that in Australia, so there's two cool things in Australia. I failed to talk about this last time. So the first one
Uh-huh.
is the fact that Australia elected its youngest senator,
Hmm.
and his name was Jordan Still John. Awesome name.
He's
And
still John.
and he's 23 years old, England born,
Mm.
and has cerebral palsy, and uses a wheelchair that pledged to be. He pledged to be a tireless champion and change of how society viewed the disabled. And
Mm.
if you watch the speech, it was actually really well done. Um, like if I'm about the reason why people are viewed, like the reason why the uh, the disabled are considered like unhelp or helpless or like or a lot not a lot lower, but like are seen as like not under kind of like undesirable, but not that strong of a word, is because
Mm-hmm.
society kind of views it in that way. But if he's basically saying if
Mm.
society kind of changes the perception of these are actually people and they can actually do some awesome things, then that perception will change and basically everyone else will go. It'll basically benefit everyone else to kind of allow these type of people who have certain skills, maybe other people don't have, to kind of be involved in the society and actually do awesome things. Um, so that was a really cool speech. If you definitely get a chance, listen to it. It's really nice. It's a good positive cause and but good positive message within politics today. And the fact that he is 23 years old, which is I'm almost within like a month I'll be 23 years old. I'm not close to being a senator.
You're not. What are you
Yeah,
doing a history degree for?
I know, right? Trying to conquer the world right now. Um,
Try to
uh,
conquer EU4 first, and then we'll
yes,
talk.
yes, yes. I'll have to get over that. But no, that I found that was like an awesome message. It just kind of brightened my day. Like young people can do some awesome things if they decide to put their minds to it and like, know the
Yeah,
right people and do the right things.
I'd
So
say there's definitely a little bit of luck in knowing the right people in there.
yeah,
Just a little
um,
bit. I mean, you still have to have a
yeah,
perseverance.
yeah. No, but it was a good positive story. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Um, and then on Australia as well, they recently, it was like 2 weeks ago, they pretty much unanimously voted for the legalization of gay marriage. It was a pretty overwhelming majority. I think it was like 70% or 60% who voted for
Mm.
it, or some. It was a
Oh, you're
very
talking
high.
about Oh, you said Australia, huh? Oh,
Australia.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. It was a pretty slight majority, honestly.
Yeah.
Compared to some of the other countries that have been passing it.
Yeah.
I was kind of reading like people from Australia that were talking about it, and it was kind of like a lot of them were like, "Yeah, I'm not really surprised. People kind of
Okay. Cool. Cool
hate gay
thing.
people out here." No, I mean like they weren't surprised that. Let's say a lot of them were actually quite surprised that it got passed
Really. Okay.
because they're like, "Well, I live in the middle of nowhere, and everyone kind of seems to hate it, so I don't
Yeah.
know."
I don't know. I
And
think
some
yeah. Go.
was like, I was talking to my grandma, and she was like, well, they can't get married. They're both guys. Like, yeah. And he said, he was like, well, yeah, but they, it's the president and stuff and blah, blah. She's like, but how? How do they do it? How do they get married? It doesn't
how do
make
they
sense.
how do they do it?
Yeah. How do
Let's
they do it
let's just say it'd be painful for the normal guy.
for any
Uh,
guy or
yeah.
for girls too?
Yeah. Yeah. That's just. I don't know if that hole is supposed to stretch that much. Let's get past that. So but yeah, no, but like it surprised me. I'm like, wow, that's actually a very large number. To get that much of a
Yeah. I mean,
consensus.
I was
Oh,
pretty surprised too, honestly. Australia tends to be pretty conservative lately.
I mean, I don't really know how Australia politics works, but like for any society to come together on an issue like that was really surprising for me, especially coming from the United States, where it's
Yeah.
such like a divisive issue.
It's actually not as divisive as it seems. There's this graph that was really popular before gay marriage was actually legalized, and it's showing like support for gay marriage was around 60% or so, and it was still legal even though the majority of people supported it. And then the graph also showed the how the popularity of interracial marriage when it got legalized, and the popularity was like 10 or 11%. It was really low.
Hmm.
And that was sort of an argument that people used all the time, where they're like, it's not like interracial marriage. It's people support it a lot more, and yet it still hasn't gotten passed. That kind of a thing.
Yeah. But no, I was extremely surprised. I was surprised, like, wow, that's pretty cool. I was like,
Yeah.
I wish that would get passed more. It's like, I
Well,
don't
it's been
know.
happening quite a bit. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
Germany did it pretty recently too.
yeah. I think a bunch of countries did it as well. But there's still like heavy persecution, especially like in Africa, like in a lot of like some places in the Middle East as well. Um, so I don't know. It should be interesting to see what kind of goes on in there. It's interesting because like people say like, well, I don't know. I think the one of the arguments that people would say is that countries that aren't secular wouldn't pass it because they're so ingrained within that religious thing. But I'm not too sure
Mhm.
about that though. Like the United States is a very secular country, and there's like so much backlash against it because of like the fact it doesn't reach Christian values or certain values that the United States considers to be like positive or whatever. Something considered on the
Yeah.
outside. So I don't think it's a problem like that. I think it's just a thing that just kind of has to kind of like be around more in the
It's
private.
definitely a cultural thing. It completely is, and it's yeah. I don't know. There's probably also some slight biological component where it's abnormal even biologically. Like when something's abnormal culturally, it's definitely looked down upon. But when it's even seems abnormal to like what you're used to just in
Mm.
the natural world, it seems extra strange to people.
Yeah, and I think it's been kind of off the radar for what's it called? For a lot of Western um culture, because back in the ancient days, it was
Mm,
like, yeah, he he has sex with boys or whatever, right? Or like he has sex
mm.
with guys, and it's like, yeah, the Spartans did it. They're like badasses, but they did it like before their battles or whatever. Like it was such like a accepted thing or whatever. But
Yeah. Well,
then
yeah. Different periods and stuff. Sorry, keep going.
yeah, but and then it kind of like Christianity came in, like, oh, that's not cool, don't do that. And so
Hmm.
and it kind of became hidden, but now it's coming back up again. I don't know. I'll have to ask. That'd be interesting little. I did just give me an idea for a topic for my anthropology paper.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, that's
Cool.
I would find interesting because like if you think about it, like the gay marriage or whatever, or just being gay in general, really stopped becoming a thing when Christianity. I mean, if we look from the Christian perspective, I'm not sure about the other perspectives, but from the Christian perspective, it was really something that was considered bad when once Christianity became such a dominant thing within politics and the way in which people ran their
Hmm.
lives. But
Yeah.
then we look about, I mean, it still stayed like that for most of, like, even into, like, the 20th, maybe the 20th century, and then around the mid 20th century, that stopped becoming an end. And you start to see, well, I don't really know.
Late 20th, maybe.
As I start thinking, I think I started to go through a lot of problems in my head, and it's pretty interesting. I could probably talk about that for my paper. But it's
Mm.
kind of interesting to see like that development of like why did it stop becoming something that was seen as okay, and then became something that was like seen you must hide
Well,
and something like
it
that.
seems like it was seemed okay for different, like for specific reasons. It was like I think it was ancient. I want to say Roman, but it may have been Greek, where it was like if someone won a battle, it was like the general of the losing battle basically let the other general have sex with them, or like people of higher rank could have sex. People of the same gender could have sex with lower ranking people of another gender as long as they were the one on top, like that kind of a thing.
Interesting.
It was sort of a
I never heard of that one.
oh.
Oh, that's okay. I would not be surprised if that was the case though. They have, the Greeks
Hmm.
and Romans had very interesting ways of expressing their culture and their superiority.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, on that note, you is I was reading. I was just it kind of sparked my interest, and I'm just like I'm not sure. I'm not trying to. This is not like I'm trying to sound bad or whatever.
Okay.
But is being gay considered something that's like abnormal within like nature in terms of like a natural point of view? Like it's like
Mm.
a I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think of the word. Like it's like a glitch kind of, or is it something that kind of naturally occurs? Because I was looking in the article and they're saying like, well, the reason why someone becomes gay is because it comes from like the father or something like that. Like,
But I don't know about that part, but so there's different hypotheses. So, it's when it comes to science in general, it's like we don't really just like, oh, here's the answer. It's like, okay, here's a possible answer. Everything seems to kind of support it, etc. when it comes to that, there's multiple hypotheses. The one that seems to have a fair bit of popularity is something called the gay uncle hypothesis,
Hmm.
where there's this thing in nature. I'm wondering if I can remember what it's called. Anyway, there's this thing in nature where um, an animal will sort of like how do I say it? So in nature, like the only goal in life is just to pass on your genes and like die,
Yes.
basically. um, in God, I was reading recently. I just can't remember the word. Anyway, in nature, there's this sort of thing where it's like it's like if your sibling has children,
Hmm.
sometimes an animal will not have its own children. That way, it can help its basically niece or nephew
Yeah.
sort of survive. And because even though it's not directly their genes, it's like close enough where it basically benefits them more in the long run.
Hmm.
And there's this sort of hypothesis where it's like, okay, if there's just enough gay people, basically, we'll have extra people to take care of things. If you have a gay guy,
Hmm.
he's not going to sleep with women. So there's no conflict of interest, and he's still strong enough that he can defend and stuff. He can help hunt or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and so you see things like this like in birds
Hmm.
where they don't become like homosexual or anything, but they will not have children in order to help their siblings' children. And it's just sort of this sort of hypothesis where it's like maybe that's why there's gay people, and maybe that's why there's such a small number.
Hmm.
There's certain traits, they're very rare, but there's certain traits where they're only beneficial if there's a small number of people.
Hmm.
One of the ones that sort of hypothesize this way is left-handedness,
Mm.
where it's like left-handedness is useful like in battle because um, all your opponents are used to fighting right-handed people, so you have an edge in battle. So someone who's left-handed would end up surviving more often than a right-handed person,
Hmm.
like just barely.
Hmm.
But that only works if there's only a very small number of left-handed people. So if the left-handed population increases to such a big size that it's not uncommon, suddenly it's not as useful, and then the population will shrink because they have the same survival rate, and then it'll grow and shrink, and it has that kind of fluctuation.
Hmm.
Um, it's that kind of idea where it's like things in nature don't usually happen just as a fluke, or let's say they always happen as a fluke, but they don't usually stay around unless they have some kind of benefit.
Yeah.
So we always try to figure out like, okay, why, like, what is the benefit to this thing or to that thing?
Hmm. That's yeah. I mean, like, I'm not saying it's a negative thing. It's just like why, like most humans act in a heterosexual way, like men like women and things like that. And of course, there's this certain part of the
Hmm.
relation that likes it. So I've always been wondering, like, why is that there? I mean, it's cool that it's there, but it's just like, is it like a higher thought? Like, why is that the case? Like, is there a higher being for that? Does that make
Yeah, well,
sense?
it occurs in multiple different animal species, and because it does, like I said, we try to figure out like, okay, well, why does it?
Hmm.
Because there has to be a reason. Like things don't really stick around if they don't have a purpose.
Hmm. So yeah, that was that's something I was like, that's kind of interesting, like how why. That's something that I can't answer, which is like the only bad thing. Like historically, I can only go so far. For you
Yeah,
guys in science, like you
can't go
guys,
back. Can't go back 10 or 20 or 30,000 years.
yeah, I can't go that far with my books. But no, that was the yeah. So that was pretty cool that you elaborate on that. I'm trying to think of anything else that came out to my mind or anything like that. Um, Anything from you, Ben, that you found interesting or you want to talk about, get off your chest?
Uh,
I'm
uh,
You're in the chair already. I'll try to figure out your problems.
well, you see, young one. No, well, I mean, Helson, if we're talking about biology, why don't we talk about that plague thing?
Oh
That's
yeah.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, let's go. So I'm gonna open up the story, but pretty much they found that the plague reached Europe a long time ago in not galaxy far away, but in the Stone Age. Sorry,
In a Stone Age.
that's copyrighted. I can't say that.
Yeah, you can. It's just very, very inaccurate.
So
Or who
pretty
knows?
much,
Maybe life formed in another galaxy, and it was just the plague, and that's all it was. And
We're all
then it made a
plagues.
spaceship and traveled
What
here.
if humanity was the plague of the Earth? Oh, life.
Possible.
Mm,
I don't know.
okay. We'll get back to things we do know. So pretty much what they found in this story, and Ben, you can help the science part of it. But from what I can know from my historical mind is the fact that they found that the plague reached via the like nomads at the Neolithic and Bronze Age, and you had a lot of people coming from Africa, then Asia, and then from Asia to Europe. And they found that they're looking through the genes, right? They found that they were affected by the plague, or they found that elements of it. Am I getting that right?
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty much what I
Yeah.
So it kind of changes like the historical, I guess the historical part of it, because like if we're to think like, I'm not sure they're talking about the Black Death. I think they're just talking about the plague.
Yeah, the bubonic plague. Black Death is an event. Bubonic plague is the more just kind of
Yeah,
general plague.
but in general, like most, if we're talking about the Black Death, which is like the most important one, there's the historical aspect of it is basically you had. Oh no, actually, let's stop that. Let's go deeper with that. So pretty much,
Okay.
the plague or the most of the plagues come from like Europe, especially by rats or anything like that. But I think with the Black Death, I don't. My history on it is not totally like 100%. But what
They actually recently changed the thing. They're like, actually, we think it may not have been rats because it wouldn't have spread fast enough. They think it was an airborne disease now.
airborne disease? What could?
Yeah.
I don't know what airborne disease could do that.
No, they think it was this plague, but it was airborne.
That changes things. I'm trying. Sorry, you have to send me that article, man, if you can find that. That's
Oh man, I don't remember. I read it in one of my classes.
That's pretty awesome. I'm trying to think right now, but for just to kind of like the reason why
Here it is. It's 3 years old. Dang. Okay, I guess they've known about it for a while.
So what is it? Do you know?
It just says Black Death was airborne. Says scientists.
Okay.
Apparently, specifically the Black Death, though, not the plague in general, is what it sounds like. Oh, that's right. I remember. Yeah, they found it in a construction site. They like found skeletons and they did things. Oh man, I don't remember.
Sorry, you just blew my mind right now. We're gonna have to go back in the history department and rewrite that.
Oh no.
You've changed all of history, Ben. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome.
But no, they pretty much like a lot of people think that. I think that in terms of the historical aspect, if we're to like look at the way in which most plagues have been thought, it was more been like this idea of like.
Oh shit! They did think it was a different plague. What? Oh man, I misremembered. They think it was something called the pneumatic plague, which is just means like breathing and stuff. So they think it wasn't the bubonic plague, or they think it wasn't just the bubonic plague.
It was a bunch of plagues coming together.
It was that and one other plague called the pneumatic plague, which is an airborne disease.
Oh, so
coughing or sneezing spreads it.
So that must have been the reason why it was so bad then. If there was two of those going on, well, that changed because the old history of the plague is basically like you had rats coming from Asia, going over and pretty much infecting all the people because the plague started in China, I believe.
And that's actually part of the argument is they're saying it wouldn't have been able to spread fast enough through Europe. At the historical rate doesn't match up with the rate that the bubonic plague can move at.
That makes sense. That does make sense.
Crazy.
But also during that time as well that you had the 100 Years' War going on within France and England at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a lot more close contact with people, and I would not be surprised if the English or the English, for example, if they used dead bodies from the plague and threw it over to the French forts, which probably could have spread it even more. But just war in general causes even more disease because you have a lot more people in close contact and you have a lot more violence and a lot more cuts and things of that nature. But no, that's actually that actually would make sense. It would cause a lot more deaths. But for this, they found that the plague was always kind of there, right? Is that what this news story is telling us? Is basically saying.
Oh yeah, the other one. Yeah, that one is saying that like after it spread, so people came here and they kind of spread the plague somehow. I don't quite understand that part. They don't really elaborate. But after that, it's like the plague sort of lived in this nearby reservoir, And so occasionally people would get too close or something. Let's just say something would happen and it would cause the plague to sort of respread through the populace.
Yeah, but they did say it came from the east though. Those are like the other
Yes,
plague as
yeah.
well.
Well, not I don't think they mean China East though. I think they mean like Middle East.
Yeah. Says they screened more than 500 ancient skeletals and recovered full genomes of plague bacteria from 6 individuals.
Yeah, so yeah, that's
Two
crazy.
samples came from Russia and Croatia. So yeah, like kind of like not that far east. But
Yeah. DNA decays after that amount of time quite a bit. So it sounds like from those 500 different bone fragments, they managed to find enough pieces of the DNA that they were able to put it together.
it says that the plague bacterium Eunesis petrigeus was responsible for the several major historic pandemics, including the infamous Black Death in the 14th century, which estimated to kill 30 to 60% of Europe's population. It says analysis of the ancient plague DNA shows that Y Pentageous genomes from Neolithic and Bronze Age were all fairly close related. Okay, so it was a similar plague. Okay, so they're saying that's kind of or like I guess it's just a history of just I don't know, maybe it's the idea of human transition just
Mhm.
always causing that plague because you especially before germ theory how you didn't know about germs, you didn't know about all these different things. So when people traveled from any other part of the world, there's always going to be that bacteria there who's going to cause more disease.
Yeah.
So that I guess that does make sense in that regard. I mean, if you look at the Europeans to to the Middle East, I mean to the Americas, right? There's people
Mhm.
who are exposed to these new diseases and they're affected. So I would not be surprised if that was going on within Asia and Europe as well.
Yeah.
Wasn't the I guess that Eudymus Pedius whatever that plague wasn't it start by like cows and shit or whatever in China? I forget. I'm trying to think.
What?
How did it originally spread? I think it started like in animals,
The
and then
bubonic plague?
yeah, I think that's what had happened.
I mean, like, where did the bacteria originally come from?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I think that's where it came from.
Oh,
I think it came from like a pig
um,
or something like that, or maybe it was from rats.
I don't actually know.
I think it was
I know it can live in rats.
it was
Um,
by fleas, right?
yeah, it can be spread through blood transmission, which is why fleas are able to spread it.
Hmm.
But as for like the actual origin of the bacteria, I have no clue. I don't even know if we know.
Yeah, Ben, get on
um,
that.
okay, here I'll look.
No,
It's from China,
no shit.
says Google.
But no, so that's kind of interesting. It kind of just shows the history of diseases. I mean,
It's from China about 2,000 years ago.
yeah, about like the 1200s or 1300s.
No, 2,000 years ago.
Oh shit,
The original like bacteria.
damn. But
Ah.
but no, but like it's yeah. So that's kind of interesting. That's a really cool little discovery. I never know that one. They nearly they need to update the
Well, it's
textbooks.
I wouldn't necessarily call it a discovery. It's more like, hey, we keep like messing with the plague bacteria, and there's no way it could have spread that far. So we think it was this other plague bacteria. It's more like a logic-based thing. They don't really have proof per se. It's more just like we can't figure out any possible way that it could have been the bubonic plague. Therefore, we think it's this one because this one makes more sense. It fits the models better.
Hmm. But then that would change like a lot of the history too, the historiography where you have like a part of
It
I don't
would.
well then would that count for also like for the Americas too? I
The
wonder.
Americas?
Yeah,
The disease that went to the Americas
was
wasn't
measles, right?
plague, was it?
Was it measles?
Measles, maybe? I think it was two or three things.
It was everything. Just like
Yeah,
it's like here's 2000 history 2000 years of history of plague. Have fun.
okay. Oh shit, you're right. Bubonic plague was one of them. What? That's insane. Okay, it says bubonic plague, chickenpox, cholera, the common cold, diphtheria, the flu, malaria, measles, scarlet
Everything.
fever,
Everything.
STDs, typhoid, typhus, tuberculosis, and pertussis.
God damn.
That's all. That's
Jesus.
all.
That's pretty much every disease.
There's actually more. That's just the ones that they decided to list.
Oh my god.
They're like many diseases, including these ones, and we're gonna stop because this is getting tiresome.
I feel like that would be a cool science job because you can include like history aspects of it and like science at the same time.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people that do that kind of stuff. It gets really cool. There's a whole bunch of research right now into like what different types of hominids that we like bred with throughout history.
Mm,
There's like 3 or 4 that we know of right now.
mm.
Neanderthals is obviously the most common one. There's another one called Denisovans. Denisovians? Ah, shit, I forget.
That's yeah.
Or Denisovans. Haha, I remember how to pronounce it now. Denisovans. And we think that Denisovans had this gene that allowed them to live up really high in the mountains.
Mm.
We think that the reason Homo sapiens were able to start living so high in mountains so quickly is because they bred with Denisovans and managed to get this gene,
Ooh.
or
Yeah.
like these sets of genes, basically.
Yeah. So no, that's pretty cool. If I was to live a second life, I would do that. I would do disease
I've told
stuff.
you before, if I were a history major, I would double major in psychology too. I think that'd be super cool.
There's that's actually kind of a big thing in history. But I think that's the cool thing about education is that you can like mold these different things and come up with something awesome.
Oh yeah, combining different like major, or, you know what I mean, different majors and things is can get really cool.
It's a challenge though because you have to be good in those things. You're
Yeah,
not
or
good.
even like just getting people from those different majors together. God, what is it called? Cross. Screw it. I don't words today, man. Words.
I feel you, man. But
Uh,
yeah, but no, but like I would do that like germs and like just
interdisciplinary. Okay, I
interdisciplinary.
remember.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Dude,
So
my studies all the time are all interdisciplinary. When I'm reading articles, it's like, okay, this was done by, like a biologist and an animal scientist and a pharmacologist and it's like all these different, they're all kind of medically or science or like biologist-y,
mhm,
but they're like really specific ones. And they're like, yeah, we kind of combined all this stuff to figure something out.
yeah. So no, that was really cool to figure that out. So thank you for adding to my historical knowledge, Ben, for that. That was
Welcome.
that was pretty cool. But no, I would definitely. I don't know who works on diseases and like those types of things.
Disease biologist.
Ooh.
I have a friend who's a disease biologist. Well, he says he's an environmentalist, but all of his focus is in disease biology. So,
I feel like that's one of those jobs that's cool, but like one of the most like scariest jobs I think as a
well, it
scientist.
depends what you're doing. You don't have to study the diseases. In fact, microbiologists are usually the ones who study diseases. That's terrifying to me sometimes. They're like, okay, we're dealing with this disease, and if it accidentally gets on me, I have to be quarantined because I'll probably die. It's like, oh God, do you want to work with something else? And
Yeah.
especially, it's like, oh yeah, this one is completely like antibiotic resistant, and we can't figure out how to kill it. That's actually the thing I'm working on. We have no known cures right now.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah,
That's
those
what,
get intense.
like don't fuck up. You're gonna kill
Yeah.
yourself. Oh my God.
Um,
Like working with the Center of Disease Control, like those people, like oh Jesus, there's also like
oh,
diseases. Yeah,
zombie outbreak. Oh no.
I know, like or like there's like diseases like in labs where like they found like no thing can cure it, and if it breaks out, everyone gonna die.
Yeah.
It's just like oh
Well,
Jesus.
I mean, they have so many like extremely strict protocols that it's like, yep, don't worry, this will probably never happen ever. It just basically can't happen. So don't worry about it
Okay, thank you, Ben,
too
for
much.
quelling our fears.
Oh no, that's just what they say. I don't actually know.
Oh shit. Jesus Christ. I wouldn't be
Uh,
surprised if they're testing it out on the population right now. They're testing it in Africa on a small
I would
group
say
of
maybe testing it in a different country. I doubt they'd test it on our populace. It's too big of a risk for diseases. Maybe drugs. Drugs are fine. Just go to the south. Go to the south where they're all poverty stricken and they don't work.
Jesus. Throwing out those economic what do you call them?
Burns? I don't know. I don't know what you're
No.
going for.
I don't know, racism.
Racism, no. Maybe stereotype.
Stereotype.
Maybe.
Yeah, economic stereotyping there. It's not cool, man. Don't do that.
I'm just saying that's where the opioid crisis is mostly big,
Yeah,
and
actually,
that's
yeah.
that's also where the biggest unemployment rates are too.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're like lazy. I'm just saying there's no jobs. It's not like they need to work harder. It's like it sucks to live there.
Yeah,
Nothing they can really do about it. Sorry guys.
but no, yeah, that's yeah. That would be a pretty cool job to do, if I can go back and just work on diseases and history of diseases. That'd be pretty tight.
Oh, you should do it. Just get it as a second job.
I know, right? I have to be a
There you
sciencey guy, don't I?
I don't know. It depends what aspect you're trying to work on. Like, it depends what you're trying to do.
Hmm. I don't know. I might do it for funsies.
Do what for fun? What are you trying to do?
I don't know. Yeah, I
That's the
agree.
question.
I agree. Yeah. So, anything else from you? Anything else you want to add to the convo, or anything else you want to change or add new?
I don't know. There's probably corrections. I don't remember what we talked about.
Um,
I'm so out of it this week. I don't know why. It's just. I hope
yeah.
it goes away soon.
Me
So I have
too.
tests soon.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. We should probably wrap this up right now. Um, yeah. So I got
Yeah.
nothing else for myself. But on that note, you just mentioned we are taking finals next week, so there will be no
What's
podcasts.
next
Not
week?
No, the week after. So so pretty much no pod. We're not gonna record on Friday. So that's why there'll be no
Oh.
podcast on Sunday. So we will not be available for next week, but I think after the break, actually after the break, you're going to the East Coast, yeah,
Yep.
straight up. So we're
Eventually.
probably we're probably not gonna report. We're probably not gonna record one on the East Coast unless if you're too busy. Then it's all cool. We can talk about that later.
Ah, we
But
can figure it
we will record. We will record. There will be some more gameplays. There's a lot more still to come up. So good ones. Hope you guys enjoyed the last one. That was the funniest. I was laughing my ass off the entire time.
out.
But no.
Yeah.
So hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed our ramblings and our discoveries that we just figured out right now. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.
Bye.